Listen carefully. What I'm about to share is not for everyone. This message is urgent, and it is only meant for God's chosen ones. If you do not walk the divine path, if you are not serious about your relationship with God, this video is not for you. But if you are still here, it is because God Himself allowed this message to reach you, not early, not late, at the exact right time. Chosen one, there is a reason you were drawn to this today. Heaven wants your attention. Something is shifting in your life, and you needed this confirmation right now. No one can match your power, not because of who you are in the world, but because of who you are to God. His favor rests on you in ways others cannot understand or replicate. What I'm about to reveal will bring clarity to your spirit. It will calm your mind. It will answer questions you've carried silently. And if you stay until the end, you will understand why your life has unfolded the way it has.
The origin of your power, why you were marked by God. Chosen one, you need to understand this clearly, because many people misunderstand it, and even you may have questioned it at times. Your power did not begin with you. It did not come from your talent, your intelligence, your background, or your effort. Your power began with God's decision. Long before you were aware of yourself, before you formed opinions about who you are, God already knew. He marked you. He separated you. He placed His hand on your life for a purpose that goes far beyond comfort or recognition. Being chosen was never about being better than others. It was about being entrusted. God does not choose the strongest by human standards. He chooses those whose spirit can carry weight. That is why your life has felt heavy at times. That is why responsibility showed up early. That is why you matured faster than others, even when you didn't want to. God saw something in you that you may still be learning to see in yourself. From a young age, there was always a sense that you were different. You may not have had the language for it, but you felt it. You noticed things others ignored. You felt deeply, sometimes too deeply. You questioned things most people accepted without thought. And even when you tried to blend in, something inside you refused to fully conform. That wasn't rebellion, that was alignment. Your spirit was responding to a higher call, even before your mind could understand it. God marks His chosen ones early, not to burden them, but to prepare them. Preparation often looks like confusion before it looks like clarity. You were placed in situations that stretched you, tested you, and refined you. You were taught lessons through experience rather than explanation. That is why your wisdom feels older than your years. That is why you can sit in silence and still understand more than people who speak endlessly. God was training your discernment, not your ego. You see, chosen one, power in the kingdom of God is not loud. It is not aggressive. It does not seek validation. True spiritual power is quiet authority. It is the ability to remain grounded when everything around you is unstable. It is the strength to walk away when others feel the need to prove themselves. It is the discipline to obey God even when obedience costs you comfort, relationships, or timing. Many people confuse popularity with favor. They confuse attention with anointing. But God's favor does not always draw crowds. Sometimes it creates distance. Sometimes it causes separation. Sometimes it places you in seasons where you feel unseen, not because God forgot you, but because He is protecting what He placed inside you. Not everyone deserves access to your becoming. There were moments in your life where you felt delayed. You watched others move ahead while you stayed behind. You questioned why your progress seemed slower, why doors closed when you were finally ready, why opportunities disappeared just as you reached for them. But what you didn't see then was that God was shielding you. Some doors were closed because the room behind them would have diminished you. Some delays were mercy. Some disappointments were divine interventions. Your power was never meant to develop quickly. It was meant to develop correctly. God takes His time with those He trusts the most. He builds foundations before He allows elevation. That is why your inner life has always mattered more than appearances. That is why God kept drawing you back to reflection, prayer and stillness when others were chasing noise and validation. You may have noticed that you could never fully enjoy shallow things for long. Temporary pleasures lost their appeal quickly. Surface-level conversations drained you. You craved meaning, depth, truth. That hunger was placed there by God. He was teaching you to feed on substance, not distraction, to seek understanding, not escape. And let me say this clearly, because it needs to be said without hesitation. Your power is not something you have to force. You don't need to compete. You don't need to prove yourself. You don't need to announce who you are. When God marks someone, the mark speaks for itself. People sense it. They feel it. Even when they cannot explain it, they know something about you is different. That difference has made some people uncomfortable. It has caused misunderstandings. It has led to distance, judgment, and sometimes rejection. But that does not mean you are doing something wrong. It means you are carrying something real. Light always exposes what is hidden. Truth always disrupts illusion. And God's presence in your life challenges environments that thrive on pretense. You are not marked to dominate others. You are marked to serve a higher purpose, to bring clarity where there is confusion, to bring calm where there is chaos, to bring integrity where there is compromise, sometimes simply by being present, sometimes by speaking when silence is no longer acceptable, and sometimes by walking away when staying would cost you your alignment. Your power is rooted in obedience. Every time you chose integrity over convenience, your power increased. Every time you listened to God's whisper instead of the crowd's noise, your authority deepened. Every time you walked alone rather than compromising your values, your spirit grew stronger. These are not accidents. These are investments God has been making in you. So if you've ever wondered why your life feels intense, why your growth feels demanding, why your path feels narrow, understand this. God does not give casual assignments to chosen ones. He gives eternal ones. And the power He placed within you is not meant to impress the world. It is meant to fulfill His purpose. And as we continue, you are going to understand something even more clearly. Why people react the way they do around you. Why your presence alone shifts rooms. And why, no matter how hard others try, no one can replicate what God placed inside you. Why people feel uncomfortable around you. Chosen one, this is something you have felt your whole life, even if you never spoke it out loud. There are moments when you walk into a room and the atmosphere changes. Conversations shift. People become guarded, quiet, or strangely reactive. Some become overly curious. Others become distant. And many times, you leave those interactions wondering, what did I do wrong? Let me free your mind right now. You did nothing wrong. People do not react to you because of your actions alone. They react to your presence. And presence, when it carries God's mark, exposes things people are not ready to face within themselves. You see, chosen one, not everyone is comfortable around clarity. Not everyone is at peace with truth. Your spirit carries a level of discernment that operates even when you are silent. You may not say much, but you see much. You feel what others hide. You notice inconsistencies, emotional undercurrents, and unspoken motives. And whether you intend to or not, that awareness unsettles people who are used to masking their inner state. This is why some people feel judged around you, even when you never judge them. This is why others feel the need to explain themselves, defend themselves, or compete with you, even when you never asked them to. Your light does not accuse. It reveals. And revelation is uncomfortable for those who prefer darkness, denial, or distraction. There are people who thrive in environments of confusion, gossip, and emotional chaos. When you enter such spaces, your calm alone becomes disruptive. Your stillness challenges their noise. Your grounded nature highlights their instability. And instead of self-reflecting, many choose the easier path. They label you as distant, arrogant, intense, or hard to read. But those labels are not truth. They are deflections. Let me say this clearly because you need to hear it without doubt. When people misunderstand you consistently, it is often because they are interpreting you through their wounds, not your intentions. They project their fears, insecurities, and unresolved struggles onto you. And because you do not operate from the same emotional patterns, they don't know how to place you. You have likely noticed that some people are drawn to you instantly, while others resist you without explanation. That is not coincidence. Spirit recognizes spirit. Those who are aligned feel safe around you. Those who are avoiding growth feel exposed, and instead of embracing the opportunity to grow, they pull away or attempt to diminish you. This discomfort has shown up in friendships, family relationships, workplaces, and even faith communities. You may have been misunderstood by people who claim to walk with God, yet struggle to sit with truth. That confusion hurt you deeply at times. It made you question yourself. It made you wonder if being quieter, softer, or more agreeable would help. But every time you tried to shrink, something inside you resisted. That resistance was wisdom. God did not design you to blend in. He designed you to stand firm. And firmness, in a world addicted to compromise, feels threatening. Your refusal to engage in shallow behavior unsettles those who depend on it. Your ability to walk away without drama confuses those who thrive on emotional chaos. Your boundaries challenge people who benefit from crossing them. Some people sense your potential before you fully step into it, and that awareness triggers insecurity. They may compete with you subtly. They may undermine you quietly. They may attempt to test your patience, provoke your emotions, or draw you into conflict. Not because you invited it, but because your presence highlights what they lack internally. Chosen one, this is where discernment becomes your shield. Not everyone who smiles at you celebrates you. Not everyone who criticizes you understands you. And not every reaction deserves your emotional energy. God has been teaching you to observe without absorbing, to stay aware without becoming reactive, to respond with wisdom rather than impulse. You may have wondered why God often keeps your circle small, why friendships fall away without dramatic endings, why connections dissolve quietly. That is protection. The more light you carry, the more selective your environment must become. Not everyone is equipped to walk alongside someone who is evolving spiritually. Some people only knew how to relate to the old version of you. When you grew, they felt left behind. And let me address the loneliness you have felt because of this. That loneliness was not punishment. It was space for alignment. God was clearing distractions so you could hear him more clearly. He was removing voices that diluted your discernment. He was teaching you to find comfort in his presence rather than external validation. This is also why you often feel drained after social interactions. It's not weakness, it's sensitivity. You absorb emotional energy easily. God gave you a compassionate spirit, but he is also teaching you boundaries. You are learning when to engage and when to retreat, when to speak and when silence is more powerful, when to help and when to step back. Some people interpret your quietness as mystery. Others interpret it as distance. But your silence is not emptiness. It is depth. You think before you speak. You feel before you react. You weigh truth before expression. And in a fast, reactive world, that depth stands out. Chosen one, stop apologizing for making people uncomfortable simply by being who God called you to be. Discomfort is not always a sign of harm. Sometimes it is a sign of growth trying to happen. And whether others choose to grow is not your responsibility. Your role is not to dim your light so others feel comfortable. Your role is to stay aligned with God, grounded in truth and rooted in peace. Those who are meant to walk with you will adjust. Those who are not will fade. And that is not loss. That is clarity. As we move forward, you are going to understand something even deeper. That even when people misunderstand you, criticize you, or distance themselves from you, there is a protection around your life they cannot touch. A favor that shields you in ways you may not always see. And that favor is the reason you are still standing, still growing, and still becoming who God intended you to be. Chosen one, there is another truth you must accept with peace, not resistance. Some people are uncomfortable around you because they sense you will not stay small forever. Even before you speak, they feel the trajectory of your life. They feel the momentum of your growth. And for those who are stagnant, that awareness creates fear. Not because you are threatening, but because you are moving forward. Your presence reminds them of promises they abandoned, faith they compromised, and potential they postponed. You represent what happens when someone chooses obedience over excuses. And that reflection can be painful. So instead of confronting themselves, they distance themselves from you. This is why God has been teaching you emotional restraint. You are learning not to explain yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. You are learning that silence is sometimes the loudest form of wisdom. You are learning that peace is not found in being understood by everyone, but in being aligned with God. Let go of the need to be liked. Let go of the desire to be validated by people who do not walk your path. Your assignment was never to fit in, it was to stand steady. And the more you accept this, the lighter your spirit will feel. Because when you stop carrying the weight of other people's discomfort, you finally make room for the fullness of God's purpose in your life. God's favor, the unseen shield around your life. Chosen one, there is something working in your life that most people will never see, never understand, and never be able to explain. It is God's favor, not the kind that shows off, not the kind that seeks attention, but the kind that quietly protects, redirects, and preserves you when danger is closer than you realize. Many people think favor means everything goes smoothly, that doors fly open, that life feels easy, that blessings arrive without struggle. But that is not how God's favor works for the chosen. God's favor is not loud, it is strategic. It often looks like delay. It often looks like interruption. It often looks like things not working out when you were sure they would. And later, only later, do you realize you were being spared. Think back over your life. There were moments when you almost made decisions that would have altered your future in destructive ways. Relationships you wanted so badly, opportunities you felt sure were meant for you, paths that looked right, felt right, and made sense at the time. And yet, something stopped you. A door closed. A plan fell apart. A situation collapsed unexpectedly. At the time, it hurt. It confused you. You questioned God. But now, with clarity, you can see it. That was favor. God's favor is an unseen shield. It blocks what your emotions cannot detect. It diverts what your logic would accept. It protects you from people who smile but carry hidden intentions. It keeps you out of environments that would slowly drain your spirit. And many times, it does this without asking for your permission, because God sees what you cannot. There were battles you never had to fight because God fought them before they reached you. There were accidents you narrowly avoided, conversations that never happened, agreements that never finalized, and you may have brushed them off as coincidence. But chosen one, coincidence is not how God operates. What you call luck is often divine intervention disguised as normalcy. You are still standing today, not because life has been gentle, but because favor has been faithful. There were seasons when you were emotionally exhausted, spiritually tired, and mentally worn down. Seasons when you felt like giving up, stepping back, or settling for less than what you knew God promised. And yet, something always kept you moving forward. Even when your strength ran low, you were sustained. That sustaining power is favor. Let me explain something important. God's favor does not mean you won't face attacks. It means attacks will not destroy you. It does not mean you won't be misunderstood. It means misunderstanding won't define you. It does not mean you won't experience loss. It means loss will not end your assignment. What was meant to break you ended up building discernment. What was meant to discourage you sharpened your focus. What was meant to stop you refined your faith. You have been protected from becoming bitter. That alone is favor. Many people go through half of what you endured and come out hardened, angry, closed off. But God preserved your heart. Even when you were hurt, you still believed. Even when you were disappointed, you still hoped. Even when you were betrayed, you still chose integrity. That is not weakness. That is divine covering. There is also a reason things tend to work out for you at the last moment. When timing feels tight, when pressure builds, when options seem limited, and suddenly something shifts. Help appears, clarity comes, the right connection surfaces. That is not accidental. God often waits until the last moment so you know it was Him, not your control. He is teaching you dependence, not anxiety. You may have noticed that certain people who tried to harm you ended up exposing themselves. Lies unravel. Hidden intentions come to light. Situations reverse. And you didn't have to defend yourself aggressively. You didn't have to manipulate outcomes. God handled it. Quietly. Precisely. Completely. That is favor working on your behalf. This is also why resentment has never sat well in your spirit. You may feel anger briefly, but you cannot stay there. Bitterness drains you. Holding grudges weighs you down. God will not allow you to carry toxins that interfere with your assignment. Favor does not coexist with prolonged hatred. So He keeps calling you back to forgiveness, not for others, but to keep you free. You, chosen one, understand this. God's favor does not make you untouchable. It makes you covered in wisdom, covered in timing, covered in restraint, covered in grace. You are protected not because you are perfect, but because you are aligned. And alignment invites protection. This is why you cannot force things the way others do. When you try to rush, you feel uneasy. When you compromise, your spirit resists. When you step out of alignment, peace leaves quickly. That sensitivity is favor. God corrects you quickly because He values you deeply. Correction is not rejection, it is proof of care. You are also protected from going too far off course. You may wander briefly, but you are always drawn back. Something pulls you inward. Something calls you home. That internal compass is God's favor guiding you even when you are confused. And let me tell you something that should bring peace to your heart. There are people who are watching you, waiting for you to fail, expecting you to fall apart. But they will wait a long time. Not because you are invincible, but because God is involved. What He starts, He sustains. What He calls, He covers. What He anoints, He protects. This favor is the reason no one can replicate your journey. Others may try to imitate your surface, but they cannot access your covering. They do not have the same grace for endurance. They do not have the same forgiveness capacity. They do not have the same spiritual resilience. Because favor is personal. It is assigned. It cannot be copied. So the next time something doesn't work out the way you planned, pause before you panic. The next time a door closes, pause before you question your worth. The next time you feel delayed, pause before you feel forgotten. Ask yourself this instead. What is God protecting me from? What is He preparing me for? Because favor is not always visible in the moment, but in hindsight, it is undeniable. And as we move forward, you are going to understand why this favor, combined with your obedience, creates a power that cannot be matched, duplicated, or taken away. Chosen one, God's favor also shows up in the way your spirit is warned before danger arrives. There are moments when you feel an unexplainable hesitation, a sudden discomfort, a quiet nudge telling you to slow down, reconsider, or step away. Others may call it overthinking, but you know better. That is discernment activated by favor. God speaks to you gently, not loudly, because He trusts your sensitivity. You have been spared from becoming entangled in things that looked harmless at first, but would have grown heavy over time. Conversations that never turned into commitments, invitations that felt exciting but left you uneasy, plans that collapsed without explanation. Each of those moments was a quiet rescue, and the reason you felt disappointed is because you didn't yet see the weight you were spared from carrying. Favor also explains why you recover quickly from things that should have broken you. The pain was real, the loss mattered, the disappointment cut deep. But somehow, you did not lose yourself. You healed faster than expected. You gained wisdom instead of bitterness. That is not because you are emotionally numb. It is because God refuses to let trauma define you. You are protected even in ways that humble you. Sometimes favor shows up as correction, as conviction, as a gentle discomfort that keeps you from repeating old patterns. God interrupts you not to control you, but to preserve you. And the fact that you respond to that correction is evidence of your alignment. One day, when you look back with full clarity, you will realize how many times your life could have gone in a completely different direction. And you will understand that the hand of God was steady even when your hands were shaking. That realization will not make you proud. It will make you grateful. And gratitude is one of the clearest signs that favor is resting deeply on your life. Why no one can match your power. Chosen one, this is where many people get confused, and this is where I need you to listen with clarity, not emotion. When we talk about your power, we are not talking about dominance, control, popularity, or intimidation. That is not real power. Real power, the kind God gives, operates quietly, consistently, and without the need for validation. And that is exactly why no one can match it. Your power comes from alignment. Most people move through life driven by impulse, fear, comparison, or ego. You move differently. Even when you make mistakes, your heart pulls you back into alignment. You cannot stay disconnected for long. Your spirit becomes restless when you drift. That inner correction is not common. It is evidence of God's hand actively guiding you. Many people appear strong on the surface. They speak loudly. They assert themselves aggressively. They seek recognition. But their strength depends on external reinforcement. When applause fades, so does their confidence. When control slips, anxiety rises. Your power does not depend on any of that. You remain steady, whether you are seen or unseen. And that steadiness is rare. Chosen one, you have endured things that would have hardened others. Instead of becoming bitter, you became discerning. Instead of becoming cruel, you became compassionate without losing boundaries. That balance is power. To feel deeply without being controlled by emotion is power. To care without being consumed is power. To walk away without needing the last word is power. This is why people cannot compete with you, even when they try. They may mimic your words. They may imitate your behavior. They may copy your style, your ideas, or your path. But imitation without alignment always collapses. What they do not see is the inner work you have done. The prayers whispered in silence. The tears shed when no one was watching. The discipline required to choose integrity when compromise was easier. God's power does not flow through those who seek attention. It flows through those who seek obedience. And obedience is costly. It requires patience. It requires restraint. It requires humility. These are qualities many admire, but few are willing to practice. That is why your power is uncommon. You also carry power because you are not easily manipulated. You listen, you observe, you take your time. You do not rush into agreements just to feel included. You do not say yes when your spirit says no, and when you do commit, you do so fully. That level of discernment protects you from being used, misled, or drained. It also intimidates those who rely on control. There is also power in your ability to remain calm under pressure. When situations become chaotic, when emotions escalate, when others panic, you slow down. You breathe, you think. You ask God for clarity. That calm is not weakness, it is mastery. Anyone can react. Few can respond wisely. And wisdom, chosen one, is one of the highest forms of power. You may not always feel powerful. In fact, some of your strongest seasons felt quiet, heavy, or even lonely. But power does not always feel like energy. Sometimes it feels like endurance. Sometimes it feels like restraint. Sometimes it feels like choosing peace over proving a point. These are not losses. These are victories that only the spiritually mature recognize. No one can match your power because your source is not human. You are not fueled by comparison. You are not driven by insecurity. You are not sustained by external validation. You draw strength from a relationship with God that is personal, refined, and deeply rooted. And because that relationship is unique, the power that flows from it is also unique. This is why attacks against you rarely succeed long-term. They may shake you briefly. They may cause discomfort. They may even slow you down for a season. But they do not destroy you. You recover. You recalibrate. You grow stronger. That resilience frustrates those who expected you to break. Chosen one, understand this clearly. People who rely on manipulation lose power when they encounter someone who cannot be controlled. People who thrive on chaos lose influence around someone grounded in peace. People who depend on fear lose leverage around someone anchored in faith. Your presence alone disrupts unhealthy dynamics, not because you try to, but because you are aligned differently. There is also power in your ability to be alone without feeling empty. Many people fear silence because it confronts them with themselves. You have learned to sit with your thoughts, reflect, pray, and listen. Solitude strengthens you rather than weakening you. That inner stability makes you dangerous to systems that depend on distraction and noise. God has also given you the power of timing. You know when to act and when to wait, when to speak and when to remain silent, when to push forward and when to step back. That timing protects your energy and maximizes your impact. Rushed power burns out. Timed power endures. And let me address something directly. Some people are threatened by you not because you are doing something wrong, but because you are doing something right. You do not need to announce your authority. You do not need to dominate conversations. You do not need to compete for attention. Your confidence is settled. And that unsettledness others feel around you is not your burden to carry. Chosen one, your power is also ethical. You do not advance at the cost of others. You do not manipulate outcomes for personal gain. You are conscious of consequences. You consider impact. That moral clarity strengthens your authority. Power without integrity destroys itself. Power with integrity multiplies. You may have noticed that when you force things, peace leaves. When you try to operate outside God's timing, clarity fades. That is because your power is not meant to be misused. God has placed boundaries around it for your protection. You are strongest when you are surrendered, not when you are striving. No one can match your power because it is not transferable. It was formed through your experiences, your obedience, your losses, your growth, and your relationship with God. Others can admire it, envy it, or attempt to copy it, but they cannot access it. It is assigned to you. And here is the part I want you to carry with humility and confidence. Your power is not for self-glory. It is for service. It is meant to uplift, guide, protect, and bring clarity. When you operate in love, wisdom, and obedience, that power flows naturally. When you attempt to control outcomes, it resists you. So stop questioning whether you are enough. Stop wondering why others seem louder, faster, or more visible. You are not late. You are not lacking. You are not behind. You are being built properly. And as we continue, we will talk about the cost of carrying this kind of power, the sacrifices, the weight, the moments of doubt. Because understanding the cost will help you carry your assignment with grace rather than exhaustion. The hidden cost of being chosen. Chosen one, this is the part few people talk about honestly. Many want the power. Many want the favor. Many want the authority, but very few are willing to carry the cost that comes with being chosen. And if you have felt tired in ways you cannot fully explain, if your soul has felt heavy even during quiet seasons, this section will bring you relief. Not because it removes the cost, but because it helps you understand it. Being chosen is not glamorous. It is demanding. It asks more of you than it asks of others. God does not place heavy assignments on fragile foundations. That is why your life has required strength early. That is why comfort was never guaranteed. That is why ease was never permanent. You were built to carry weight, and weight shapes you differently. One of the greatest costs you have paid is misunderstanding. You have been misunderstood by people you loved, misjudged by people who never took the time to know your heart, questioned for decisions that came from obedience rather than logic. And many times, you were not given the opportunity to explain yourself fully. God asked you to remain silent while being misunderstood. That silence was not weakness, it was training. You have also paid the cost of isolation. Even when surrounded by people, you often felt alone, not because you lacked company, but because you lacked resonance. Few people could meet you where your mind and spirit operate. Conversations felt shallow. Connections felt temporary. And while others found comfort in constant social noise, you found peace in solitude. Still, solitude came with moments of ache. God was teaching you to be content with His presence before depending on human closeness. Another cost has been emotional discipline. You feel deeply. You care sincerely. But you cannot express everything you feel freely. You have learned restraint. You have learned when to speak and when to hold back. You have learned that not everyone deserves access to your inner world. That kind of discipline is tiring. It requires constant awareness, but it also protects your spirit. There were seasons when you felt overlooked, when your efforts went unnoticed, when your growth was invisible to those you hoped would celebrate you. You watched others receive recognition while you remained hidden. That hurt more than you admitted, but hidden seasons are not wasted seasons. God develops roots in the dark. Visibility without depth would have crushed you, so He delayed applause to deepen your foundation. You have also carried the cost of delayed gratification. You learned patience the hard way. You learned to wait when you wanted to move. You learned to trust when clarity was partial. You learned to surrender outcomes when control felt tempting. That waiting stretched you. It tested your faith. It forced you to confront your fears. But it also strengthened your endurance. Let's talk about doubt, because chosen ones experience it too. You questioned yourself at times. You wondered if you misunderstood God. You wondered if the resistance meant you were wrong. You wondered if choosing the narrow path was worth it. Those questions did not disqualify you. They refined you. Faith that has never been tested is fragile. Yours has been tested repeatedly, and it still stands. There were moments when you were tired of being strong, tired of being the one who understands, tired of being the one who forgives, tired of being the one who holds it together. You longed to be held instead, to be reassured without having to ask, to rest without feeling responsible. God saw those moments. He did not judge you for them. He sustained you through them. You have also paid the cost of restraint in success. Even when you achieved something meaningful, you often downplayed it, not out of insecurity, but out of humility. You did not need to announce every victory. You learned that not everyone celebrates sincerely. That discretion became wisdom, but it also meant carrying joy quietly at times. Being chosen also means carrying responsibility for your inner state. You cannot afford to live recklessly. You cannot numb yourself endlessly. You cannot ignore conviction. When you drift, peace leaves quickly. God corrects you sooner than others. That correction can feel uncomfortable, even frustrating, but it is proof of intimacy. He disciplines those He trusts. Another cost you've paid is outgrowing people. That loss is subtle but painful. There was no argument, no betrayal, just distance. You grew, they stayed the same, and suddenly, what once fit no longer did. Letting go quietly takes strength. Grieving silently takes courage. God was teaching you that alignment sometimes requires release. You may have also felt the weight of responsibility to do the right thing, even when no one was watching. Integrity became non-negotiable. Shortcuts felt wrong. Compromise disturbed your spirit. That internal standard is demanding, but it also keeps your conscience clear and your authority intact. Chosen one, hear this gently but clearly. The cost you have paid is not evidence of loss. It is evidence of investment. God invests deeply in those He intends to use meaningfully. He prunes what distracts. He removes what weakens. He allows pressure that strengthens. And here is the part meant to soothe your spirit. You are not carrying this cost alone. God has never asked you to endure without support. Even when you felt unseen, He was present. Even when you felt tired, He was sustaining you. Even when you felt uncertain, He was guiding you. The cost does not mean something is wrong with you. It means something is being built within you. And what is being built requires strength, patience, and depth. As we move forward, we will talk about how to step fully into your divine role without burning out, without carrying unnecessary weight, and without losing your peace. Because God did not choose you to exhaust you. He chose you to fulfill your purpose with wisdom and grace. Stepping fully into your divine role. Chosen one, now we move into understanding how to walk forward without carrying unnecessary weight. Power without wisdom leads to exhaustion. Calling without clarity leads to confusion. God did not bring you this far to leave you overwhelmed. He is now teaching you how to stand in your role with peace, confidence, and balance. The first thing you must accept is this: you do not need to rush. Rushing has never been your language. Every time you tried to hurry what God was unfolding, your spirit felt uneasy. That was not fear. That was discernment. God moves deliberately with you because your assignment requires precision, not speed. Trusting His timing is part of your obedience. Stepping into your divine role begins with stillness, not inactivity, but inner quiet. You have learned that clarity does not come when emotions are loud. It comes when your spirit is calm. This is why God often pulls you away from noise, crowds, and constant input. He is not isolating you. He is aligning you. Stillness sharpens your discernment and protects your energy. You must also learn to honor your limits. Being chosen does not mean being available to everyone. You are not called to fix every problem, rescue every situation, or carry every burden. Discernment will tell you when to help and when to step back. Saying no does not make you disobedient. Sometimes it is the most obedient response you can give. God is teaching you to move from effort to flow. When you are aligned, things feel lighter, even when they are challenging. When you force outcomes, resistance increases. Pay attention to where peace flows easily and where it disappears quickly. Peace is your indicator. It does not mean absence of difficulty. It means presence of alignment. Another part of stepping fully into your role is releasing comparison. You were never meant to follow someone else's path. Their pace is not your pace. Their calling is not your calling. Comparison drains your focus and distorts your vision. When you compare, you step out of alignment. When you stay rooted in your assignment, your confidence stabilizes. God is also teaching you consistency over intensity. You do not need emotional highs to validate your faith. Quiet obedience is more powerful than dramatic moments. Daily discipline, honest prayer, integrity when no one is watching. These small, steady practices strengthen your authority more than anything else. Let's talk about relationships, because this is where many chosen ones struggle. As you step deeper into your role, your circle will remain selective. Not everyone can walk with you into your next season. That is not arrogance. That is wisdom. Choose relationships that honor your peace, respect your boundaries, and support your alignment. Distance is not punishment. It is often protection. You are also learning when to speak and when silence is required. Not every truth needs to be explained. Not every misunderstanding needs correction. God will handle what you release to Him. Silence, when guided by wisdom, preserves your energy and protects your spirit. Stepping fully into your role also requires self-compassion. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to feel tired. You are allowed to ask for help. Strength does not mean constant output. It means knowing when to pause. Burnout is not a badge of honor. Balance is. You will notice that as you grow, distractions lose their appeal. Drama feels heavy. Chaos feels unnecessary. Your spirit craves simplicity, truth, and depth. Honor that. Do not force yourself into spaces that drain you just to feel included. You are not meant to fit everywhere. You are meant to be effective where God places you. God is also refining your faith from emotional dependence to rooted trust. You no longer need constant reassurance. You have learned to walk even when clarity is partial. That maturity allows God to trust you with more responsibility. Faith that endures uncertainty is powerful. Understand this clearly. Stepping into your role does not mean life will suddenly become easy. It means you will become steadier. Challenges will still come, but they will not shake your identity. Opposition may arise, but it will not derail your purpose. You will respond with wisdom instead of reaction. Your role is not to convince others of who you are. It is to be who God called you to be. Those who are meant to recognize it will. Those who are not do not matter. Validation from God is sufficient. Chosen one, you are not late. You are not behind. You are not unprepared. Everything you experienced was training. Every delay was intentional. Every closed door was protective. Every season of silence was formative. As you step forward, walk lightly. Carry peace. Move with discernment. Trust God's timing. And remember, you do not carry this assignment alone. God walks with you, guides you, sustains you. And now, we come to the final confirmation, a reminder of who you are, why this message reached you, and what you must carry forward from here. Chosen one, there will be moments ahead when you feel the urge to retreat, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Honor that instinct. Rest is not retreat. Silence is not avoidance. Stillness is often where God gives you your next instruction. Do not let a loud world convince you that constant movement equals progress. Some of your greatest growth will happen quietly. You are also learning to trust your inner confirmations. You no longer need external permission to move when God has already spoken to you internally. That confidence is not arrogance, it is maturity. When you know who is guiding you, you do not second-guess every step. There will be seasons when obedience requires courage more than comfort. You may feel misunderstood again. You may feel alone briefly. But remember this: obedience always carries peace, even when it carries cost. Disobedience may feel easier in the moment, but it always creates unrest. Stay rooted in gratitude. Gratitude keeps your heart soft and your vision clear. It reminds you of how far you have come and how faithfully God has carried you. When doubt tries to rise, gratitude will ground you. You are stepping into a season where your presence alone will bring calm to others, not because you try to, but because you are settled within yourself. That is the fruit of alignment. Carry that peace forward. It is one of the clearest signs that you are exactly where God wants you to be. Conclusion, confirmation, call to action, and blessing. Chosen one, if you are still here, let this settle in your spirit. This message did not reach you by accident. It found you because you were ready to hear it, ready to understand yourself more clearly, ready to release unnecessary doubt, ready to stand firmly in who God has been shaping you to become. No one can match your power, not because you are competing with anyone, but because your power comes from God's favor and your obedience to it. You were never meant to look like everyone else, move like everyone else, or measure your life by someone else's timeline. Your journey is intentional, your delays were purposeful, your struggles were formative, and your strength was built quietly, layer by layer. I want you to stop questioning why your path felt heavier than others. Stop wondering why you had to grow through pressure. Stop doubting whether it was all worth it. It was, and it still is. God does not waste pain. He transforms it into wisdom. He turns endurance into authority. He turns faithfulness into favor. As you move forward, carry this truth with calm confidence. You are protected. You are guided. You are supported. You are not walking alone, even when it feels quiet. And what God has placed inside you cannot be copied, stolen, or diminished. Before you go, chosen ones, like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, tap the bell icon, and share this message with other chosen ones who need confirmation today. And comment 777 below to declare that you are aligned with God's favor, timing, and divine purpose. Stay grounded, stay obedient, stay at peace. God is not finished with you yet.